Who really knows which lawyer you should choose? Other lawyers know. They've invited Gary C. Johnson to teach his method of judo law in Denver, Atlanta, New Orleans, and across the nation. Gary used judo law to set the record for the largest personal injury verdict in the history of Kentucky. Now, which lawyer should you choose? The choice is clear. Gary C. Johnson. Dial pound HURT. This is an advertisement.
If you're hurt, injured, don't waste time. Gary Johnson drives for every dime.
Welcome to Simply the Law, a program created by attorney Gary C. Johnson. Simply the Law provides free legal advice and encourages happiness and quality of life. Now, here's Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson. Hello, everyone. Welcome in to Simply the Law. I'm Keith Casebolt, and as always, this week it is good to see you, my friend, Gary C. Johnson.
It's wonderful to be here. Hi, folks. How you doing? Isn't it wonderful to be alive? No criticizing, condemning, or complaining, right? Not a single one of you this last week camouflaged criticism by calling it by giving unsolicited advice, right? None of you assumed anything. None of you took anything personal. Not a one of you, right? And you did the best you could do without being jealous of what somebody down the street might be doing, right? You did all of that. Oh, and you were also impeccable with the word. Tough, isn't it? Huh?
I don't know, my good friend, if we were able to do all of those things, but I tell you what, to my friends out there and your friends, you gave me good advice. You said, Keith, try to take a whole week and just listen. Just listen. Don't make any comments. Don't say anything, but listen to everybody and everything. Do it for a week and see what all you learn. Great advice.
Except I don't think he learned anything. What do you think? I'm just kidding. Isn't it wonderful to be alive, folks? Isn't it wonderful to have a chance to be happy? To be able to watch a television? Be able to be in a home where you can watch a television? Have someone with you? Especially if you have someone with you. Isn't it wonderful? Life is okay. It's pretty good. Be a whole lot worse, right? So let's all think positive. Let's have a wonderful attitude. And let's think that this water I got in this cup is half full, not half empty, right? That's what we're going to do this week. I want to talk to you a little bit before we get started to go to the computer, assuming we ever get to it. Sometimes we never get to it, right? About law and the profession of being a lawyer. When I started practicing law, there was no such thing as advertising. It was illegal. You got your business by word of mouth from people that had used you and knew you and could tell folks whether or not you did a decent job. And things evolved just like everything else changes in life. I started out many, many years ago practicing what I call personal injury. Well, where did that word come from? You're not representing injuries, right? You're representing personal injuries. So let's think through that a second. That means that every time a person is hurt, injured, that injury in their case is personal to them. It deserves personal attention. It deserves the attention that has to be given to it in order for that person to be able to get some semblance of the compensation that they're entitled to for what happened to them. Now let's take it one step further. Can you take a profession, and can you put it on an assembly line? And can you do a checklist or whatever that meets the criteria for every single person that comes through your office. It's impossible if you're going to represent your client. Years ago, I bought a jet. And the reason I bought the jet when I got it was I was going to practice law in several different places. I knew how to practice law, I knew how to try a case, I knew how to represent my clients, so I was going to go do more. I was going to go other places, I was going to go to other states, so that I could practice law and represent all of these people. Well, guess what I figured out really quick? Jet's gone. So, why? It couldn't be done. I could not give my people here in Kentucky the legal representation they deserved and that they were entitled to from hiring me if I was running all over the country representing other people. It didn't work. It will never work. It's not working today. Even though there's people on TV telling you, yes, we come in here from Orlando, Florida. We are the only ones. In fact, we are the one. We have offices everywhere. We're in all of these states. We can do this, we can do that. Guess what? What did they do in Kentucky? What are their results in the state of Kentucky? Now, have they had any million-dollar verdicts in the state of Kentucky? Bet you anything they'd have it up on the TV screen, wouldn't you? If you decide to go to them, which you have every right to, ask them to show you one single verdict that they have in the state of Kentucky. Kentucky, over $1 million. Go to my office, my lawyers will be proud to show you all of ours. We will. But they're Kentucky verdicts. They're not Arkansas verdicts. They're not California verdicts. They're people we represented locally here in Kentucky. Now, you have a lot of fine lawyers in the state of Kentucky that are Kentucky lawyers that are licensed to practice in the state of Kentucky. You might want to ask if that fellow you see on TV doing all that advertising from Florida, if he even has a license to practice in the state of Kentucky. You need to ask, well, when will I see this man when I go into his office? When will he come and talk to me? Where is he? When I make a phone call to their number, will it be answered here in Kentucky, or will it be answered in Orlando? Where will I get the personal service that I'm entitled to? Now, they'll say to you, well, we hire only the best lawyers. Best lawyers are working for themselves. They're not working for him. You'll find plenty of the best lawyers out there, but they're on their own, doing their job, representing their clients. They're not on his payday. I didn't mean to get off on this, but I thought it's important to give you some information that maybe you can pass on to somebody. Look at their reviews, their real reviews, if you go on the internet. Not the ones that they say they've got, but the real ones from real people that's been represented by them.
Gary, what I like about what you're saying, you are basically telling our friends, I'm telling you what I would do if it were me.
Right.
You're sitting here saying, if I was injured, I needed help, I would go and look at the cases, I'd look at the verdicts, I would ask the questions, are you licensed in Kentucky? What kind of results do you have in Kentucky? Are you going to be talking with me and seeing me? Are you going to be handling my case? You're saying this is what Gary C. Johnson would do if you were in need.
And you have a right to ask. I saw this guy on TV saying how good a lawyer he is. Is he going to come and talk to me about my case? See how far you get if you ask that.
We've got an interesting topic going, and I hope you'll stay with us. Maybe during the break you pick up the phone and call a neighbor and say, hey, tune in. Gary's talking about something that's interesting tonight. It is Simply the Law, and we'll be right back with Gary C. Johnson after this. Eastern Kentucky, southern West Virginia, and southwest Virginia. It can be a tough territory to reach when it comes to marketing. We can help. We can also help you find your identification. And we have plenty of services to do it and a lot of experience behind us, over 37 years. In fact, we've either booked or sold nearly $70 million in advertising in this region. You need a new voice, a new idea, a new concept? Casebolt Marketing. We're ready to go to work for you today. Our motto is nothing happens until you make it happen. So let's get started today. Welcome back into Simply the Law. I'm sitting here listening to you, and there's been so many times over the years that because I've been in the media and marketing, that you've said things that I've said, oh, Gary, I'm not so sure you should have said that. One of them was early on when I met you, you said, you know, the only thing I can do is get you money. And I said, isn't that taboo? Are you not supposed to talk about money? And you said, Keith, that's the truth. It's the only thing I can do. If I could fix a broken arm, I would. One of the other things you said early on is there's bad people in every profession. Ours is no different than the other professions. You've got to seek out and get the information. You're very upfront and open about what you do.
And back to what I'm talking about, personal injury, a personal injury to you. There is no possible way my firm, and we've got like 12 lawyers, that we can handle 1 million calls a year, or 1 million calls, or 2 million. And then we could say to you, and it says on the TV, we had, I think they said 2 million calls or 2 million clients or whatever last year, and we collected $2 billion. Well, if you divide that up, they got $1,000 for each of their clients. That's the average. Now, what was the fee though? What was the fee to the lawyers out of $2 billion? It's 1/3. Figure out right quick who's making the money. Now, another thing. When you think about living this life, when a person is injured and they get a settlement or get a verdict and collect, what happens to the money? Generally, 1/3 of it goes into attorney fees. Well, if it's a local attorney that got the 1/3, the odds are that 1/3 is going to stay in the community, be spent in the community, go to local businesses, go to local car dealers, go to the local people, to where that we have an economy. What happens to the 1/3 attorney fee when you have a national firm located in Florida that gets that fee? Where does the money go? Ask yourself, the local banks, local attorneys do business with local banks, right? You might ask, if you go into this other outfit, what bank do you use? Because in the end, we are a community here. And we have many, many really fine personal injury Kentucky lawyers. It's not just me. I don't say I'm the only one, and I'm not going to get up here and say there's only one Gary. It's not true. There's several people that can practice law and do as good a job as I can do in Kentucky. They practice here in Kentucky. Seek those people out. Give them your business or your friend's business or your neighbor's business, because it's good for the community and it's good for our state. That's what I'm saying to you, my friends.
Yeah, and you know, let me add a point to that. I know this for a fact. You actually get a connection with your clients to the point to where you were taking on emotional stress because you were so upset over the wrong that had been done to these people. Now, that goes beyond being a number or knowing a name. You were actually going home with emotional stress because you felt so bad about what was happening to these people. That's personal. as personal as you can get.
If you care about your clients and you try a lawsuit and you're a lawyer, you will leave a little bit of your soul in that courtroom every single time, because it takes that much out of you. But it is a profession. It is not a business. Law is not a business. It was never meant to be a business, a huge national business. It was never meant to be that. And the people that end up being represented in that national business may very well find, even though they're told, oh, we're going to get you more than anybody. If one said, here's 50,000 somebody would get, if we had that case, we'd get you 500. Duh. Does anybody believe that? I mean, but look at their commercials and analyze them and decide. Make an intelligent decision on what you're going to do if you're going to hire these people. And they may work out fine. But
Gary, did all this happen because in our society we've become into this mass production of, microwave dinners, delivery things with robots and everything, and our whole society has changed to where we're just doing this conveyor belt of things and it all being the same?
look what happened when businessmen took over medicine, my friends. Businessmen should not be allowed to take over law, the law profession. And it's happening right in front of my eyes, and there's nothing I can do about it. In fact, it's not going to impact me one way or the other in the long run. But it's going to impact the quality of service that's given to my friends and the people in the future, and my children and your children. If you're going to do it on a mass basis, then you should give a mass discount. So ask them, since they're doing it on a mass basis, what kind of mass discount they're giving. Like when Walmart came in and put the small stores out of business, they did it because they gave people a discount, right? Well, if they're going to come in and put the local lawyers out of business, maybe they should give a discount. Ask them. Bet you it won't happen. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
You know, the thing I love about it is Gary always asks you to think. He never tells you the way it should be. He says, go, research, read, look, make up your own mind. It's very empowering. Stay with us. Simply the Law and Gary C. Johnson coming back right after this.
Who really knows which lawyer you should choose? Other lawyers know. They've invited Gary C. Johnson to teach his method of judo law in Denver, Atlanta, New Orleans, and across the nation. Gary used judo law to set the record for the largest personal injury verdict in the history of Kentucky. Now, which lawyer should you choose? The choice is clear. Gary C. Johnson. Dial #HURT. This is an advertisement.
Welcome back into Simply the Law. For our friends that's been with us for the first two segments, Gary, I'll almost bet you that everybody's doing exactly what I'm doing. They're sitting there going through their head about maybe the profession they're in, the work that they do, or maybe the favorite store they used to shop at growing up or something, and they've said, boy, that was the time when you got the personal service. That was the time when you knew people by name. They knew what you needed and wanted. And when I listen to you talk, I just hear the passion coming out in you because of the way you treat this profession and the way you treat your clients.
Well, bigger is not better. Volume, less quality. It's that simple. And one of the reasons I got off on this is for the last week I've been trying to catch up on a case. One case. Okay. One. And I have read to the point that my eyes have crossed, trying to figure out everything that the defense can possibly come up with, trying to figure out everything possible that they could throw at my client to try to discredit them, and then figure out at the same time the law that's applicable, the rules that are applicable. And it took an immense amount of time. my personal time to do that. How can anyone possibly do that if they're talking about representing 1 million people? I don't care if they got 500 lawyers, you divide it out. It's still 200 or 300 cases a lawyer. It's impossible to do. And do it the way it ought to be done. At least I'm not smart enough to. Maybe they are. I guess is what I'm saying. But I firmly believe that law is a profession. It is a personal service profession. And when you deal with people with personal injuries, it's personal all the way down the line. Personal. And that's the way it should be. So when you put out there the glamour of it all and this and this and this, and in the end, your local lawyers that know what they're doing, and word gets out, you know, in your communities, you've got a pretty good idea. You can go online. You can pretty well figure out who the lawyers are that know what they're doing. Research it. But research it in terms of what have they done in Kentucky. It doesn't matter what they did in California or what somebody in California did or Arkansas or Florida. What matters is with Kentucky juries, with local Kentucky people, what have they done? What is the results that they've gotten? That's the issue that you need to be looking at.
And the point you're making is you're asking everyone to go to your website and look at those results, because you're saying, this is the way I do it, check my results and see if they mirror the way I'm doing it.
I'm not just talking about me, I'm talking about other lawyers too that have results in Kentucky. And there's some really good lawyers in Kentucky that are Kentucky lawyers that have excellent results. Look at their websites. You don't have to just look at mine, but keep it local. Don't let what happens in other businesses, in other words, don't let them put the other lawyers out of business that are doing such a wonderful job representing their clients, that are not businessmen, that are just people that want to represent their clients and to do the job. That's what I'm talking about.
You know, and what you're saying, you have been so honest about. I can tell our friends this. On several occasions, I've come to you and said, Gary, I've got an individual that was in 2 states over, North Carolina, that had an accident or a problem. And you've always come back and said, Keith, I know a great personal injury lawyer in North Carolina who gets good results. They would be better with that individual. Mm-hmm. Or if it was in Tennessee or another state, you've said, I understand the case, but they need to go to this person. So you're sitting there saying, you're telling people the truth. These people are working in those states. You're working in Kentucky.
Know the rules, know the law, and have a base in making the community a better community. We are all on this rock together. We're all in these communities with each other, and we need to support each other in our own communities, is the point I'm making. And therefore, we will be okay if we do.
You know, I told you the other day, with everything we got going on in the world, Gary came over, we were doing the radio show, and in a few minutes, you and I were laughing and talking and enjoying ourselves, and you said, you know, Keith, isn't it good to be passionate about life and passionate about what you do? And I'm sitting here listening to you again, and I'm saying kudos, my friend, because you've got me feeling it. What you're saying makes me want to be better at what I do, just like what you're talking about.
Let's go to the computer for just a second. There's our phone number if any of you need to call us. We're in Lexington. There's our number in Lexington. You can reach us. We're out on Executive Drive off of Winchester Road. GaryCJohnson.com. And in general, got to say this before any show is ever over. Make sure you have underinsurance that protects you and your family. This is so important. Someone once told me I've probably sold more underinsurance than any insurance agent that's ever lived, and I hope I have,
No
because
doubt.
it's important. I don't get any money out of this. This is nothing to me other than for your protection. You need underinsurance to protect you and your family.
You have, not only have you sold more insurance, you've probably done away with more arbitration documents being signed. As I told you the other day, that I said, I had a document. I said, does this have an arbitration? And the person said, are you kidding? Nobody won't sign an arbitration because of Gary Johnson.
If you remember for years, and maybe some of you that's watching it now, instead of just underinsurance, I put a sign up there that said, don't sign an arbitration agreement for a hospital or a nursing home. Don't do it. You lose your right to file a lawsuit. You lose your right to hold them accountable. So that's what he's talking about. A bunch of people quit using them in eastern Kentucky after that because nobody signed them. Thank goodness.
Yeah, it was so amazing because the lady said, everybody would say, Gary Johnson told me not to sign this. Gary Johnson told me not to sign this. And so finally we just gave up and we no longer have the arbitration. But you have sold the underinsurance, and because of that, I've run into people that said, thank goodness I had the underinsurance. Without it, I would have been destroyed.
It's the first thing. If you get an appointment with an attorney and you've been hurt, take your insurance policy with you to your first appointment, because the attorney needs to know early on, right at the beginning, whether or not you have underinsurance on your policy that may be able to be accessed to help you get through and not end up bankrupt because of your injury. And folks, you can end up bankrupt through no fault of your own from a personal injury. It all depends on how much insurance there is. If there's no insurance, you're ruined. That's why it was so important, and I keep talking to you about having underinsurance. You may at least stay out of bankruptcy. You may not make anything out of it, but at least you may stay out of bankruptcy. If somebody with no insurance or with minimum limits hits you, your emergency room will probably take that. And after that, if there's no other insurance, you're on your own unless you have good health insurance. So yes, get underinsurance, my friends.
Great program. And again, what Gary is asking you to do is to think, empower yourself, look, read, study. You can go to GaryCJohnson.com, look at the verdicts that he's talking about. Look at everybody's. I think would be a good thing that you're saying is don't just check out you, check out everybody. Compare. If you have a little time on your hands right now, and even if you don't need an attorney, maybe someday you will, do some investigating. The main thing is information is powerful, isn't it, in making the decision?
Think. That's what I'm saying, my friends. Think.
And with that, we will say thank you for giving us this time. On behalf of Gary C. Johnson, I'm Keith Casebolt. As always, we look forward to seeing you again next week, right here at this same time.
Thank you for watching Simply the Law, a program created by Gary C. Johnson. Until next week, may you be safe, blessed, and happy.